Everyone look at your neighbor. Yeah, we're going to do this again, but it's going to be awesome. Everyone look at your neighbor. Any neighbor, bro, it's your choice. I said look at your neighbor. I didn't say which one. Everyone look at your neighbor and say this with me real quick. Somebody's going to die. Now look at your second choice neighbor. This is awkward again. Why are y'all so happy about that over here? No, I didn't. No. What do you think we're talking about? Is there something going on over here I don't know about? Now look at your other neighbor and say it again. Somebody's gonna die. Now look at your youth leaders. Look them right in the face and say, somebody's gonna die. Look at the tech team and say, somebody's gonna die. Now look up here at me and say it with your chest as loud as you can. Somebody's gonna die. Yes. Now a man named Lazarus, he was sick. Now a man named Lazarus, he was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sister sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When Jesus heard this, he said, the sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister Lazarus. So when you heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days, and then said to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. Jesus had this friend named Lazarus, and they were the best of friends. This was someone that Jesus loved, and he loved to be around. They were ride or die together. See, Jesus was constantly traveling all over Israel, teaching, preaching, loving people, performing miracles, doing all this crazy stuff, and they were constantly on the road, on the move. They would sleep in fields. They didn't have a place that was their own. Ooh, that was nice. What was that? I see you, tech team. Oh, yeah. But he also had people every now and then that he would stop and chill with. And Lazarus and his sisters Mary and Martha were these people. Y'all, these people were so close, they were like a family. Every time Jesus was near Jerusalem, he would stop by their house for a couple of days, and he would sit down with them, and he would eat with them, and he would talk with them, and they would play games together, and they would talk all through the night, and they would fellowship, and they would visit. Every chance he got, he would stop by their house so he could see them. Like he was theirs, and they were his, and like they were super, super tight. They were ride or die. Like they just got each other like it was special. I hope every single one of you in this room has people in your life who are like that, who are special. Because when you got people like that, everything that is good is so much better, and everything that is bad is so much easier to overcome. And if you're in this room and you're like, I wish I had a person like that in my life, I don't have people who are ride or die with me, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll be ride or die with you. I will love you no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter where you go. I'll be that ride or die person with you. But it's not just me. Every single youth leader who's in this room, every youth leader who's back there in that hallway keeping all of us safe, they will all be ride or die with you no matter what happens in this world. There are people here who love you more than you could ever understand because they know they're loved by a God who loves them more than we could ever understand. That was what Jesus was with these people. And now some messenger runs up to him and he's like, Jesus, Lazarus is sick. And that's how they texted back in the day. Because remember rule number 2, smartphones are awesome. They didn't have that stuff back then. So if someone wanted to get a message to someone, they had to get a person and they had to pay him money or her money. And then they would have them physically run to the place the other person was. So if I was like, JD's shirt, that 180 shirt is fire. Where did he get that? I'd have to give Tanner money and then tell Tanner, go tell JD I said his shirt is fire and I want it. And then Tanner would take my money because he got to eat. And they would run to JD and be like, bro, JD, Pastor Aaron says your shirt is fire and he wants it. Where'd you get it? And then JD be like, tell Pastor Aaron, I got it in the kitchen, back over there where we store all our 180 merch, in a locked cabinet. Don't want to try to sneak back there. And then he'd be like, go tell Pastor Aaron that. And then Tanner would go like this, and he'd be like, and he'd give him money. And then Tanner would run back to me and be like, JD says that he got it out of the merch closet, and it's locked because, we don't want it to get stolen. And so, there you go. And that could take days. And that's how they texted. So this happens. Jesus finds out that his best friend is so very sick. But Jesus waits for 2 days. And then on the morning of the third day, he gets up and he's like, all right, y'all, we're going back to Jerusalem. And all the disciples are like, whoa, Jesus. Like, hold on a second, are you sure? Because if you read John chapter 10, the chapter before this one, you will see that Jesus got into it with the Pharisees. And they got so into it, and Jesus got them so twisted up in their ridiculousness that they got so mad that they grabbed rocks and they were going to stone him to death. And they were going to stone his disciples to death just because they were with him. And so they're like, no, Jesus, we cannot go back there yet. And Jesus is like, what? Did I stutter? I said we're going back. But the disciples argued more and were like, no, dude, we can't go back, Jesus. We can't do that because, if we go back there, then we're going to die. And if we die, that would suck because being dead sucks. None of us want to die. None of us want that to happen. And then eventually Thomas stands up and he's like, you know what? Stop. If Jesus is going to go somewhere where he dies, then we go and we die with him. Because that's what this man would do for us, so that's what we're going to do for him. And so they went. And while they were outside the city, Martha heard that he was coming, Lazarus' sister, and she ran out to meet him. And when she got to him, she was like, Lord, if only you would have come sooner. If only you would have come sooner. Lazarus is already gone. Then she gets mad at him and she starts yelling at him and she's angry. And she's angry because Lazarus is dead. And Lazarus is dead because Jesus took too long to get there. And Martha knows that. Martha knows she could have got there sooner. So she's mad at him and she's yelling at him. And eventually her yells start to become whimpers. And those whimpers start to become tears. And then she just starts crying on Jesus. And she's like, if only you would have come sooner. If only you would have come sooner. What were you doing? I know what you do is important, but where were you? Where were you? We needed you. And Jesus let her vent all her anger and all of her sadness on him. And when she was done, he wiped the tears from her face and he just said, Martha, do you believe? And she was like, yes, I believe. And in verse 25, Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? And then Martha went to get Mary. And the Bible says that she got up out of the house and she ran to see Jesus. And when she saw him, she collapsed at his feet and she wrapped her arms around her ankles and she just wept. And she just cried. And through her tears, she just muttered the words, Lord, if only you would have been here sooner. If only you would have come sooner, Lazarus would be alive. And in verse 35, y'all, it's one of the most beautiful verses in the Bible. And it's also the shortest. So if you're ever in a prayer meeting someday and they're like, y'all, we're going to quote scripture, I just saved your life with this one. It's John 11:35, and it just says, Jesus wept. He wept. He was overcome with sadness and anger at the situation. His best friend, one of his best friends was gone, and his sisters are just so broken right at his feet. I remember sitting behind the dumpsters that were by the playground of my elementary school. I was in 4th grade. And I had just walked through the worst day of my life. And I sat there crying and just saying over and over, I just want to die. 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 This life is so hard. This life hurts so much. I just want to die. You see, that day was career day. Y'all remember career day? When it's like, what do y'all want to be when you grow up? And they're like, LeBron James. Like, bro, it's only impossible if you believe it's impossible. Let me just speak that on you right now. Because with the God that you serve, ain't nothing impossible. And so everyone's like up there in class and they're like, I want to be Michael Jordan because he was LeBron James before LeBron James. They're like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. Or I want to be this, or I want to be this, or I want to be this. And my last name has a W in it, which means I always got to sit in the back of the classroom. Yeah, be jealous. It was awesome. But then I always got moved to the front because I was a bad kid. So, like, it was a bummer. It just didn't matter. But I was one of the last kids to go because of my name. And I got up there, and ever since I've been 5 years old, I would go to bed at night, and I would have a dream. And it was the same dream over and over and over. And it was a dream of me being a pastor. And so I got up there in front of my classmates in 4th grade, and you got to oh, whose phone is that? Oh! Malachi, is that you again? Oh, shh. Bro, everybody sold you out so fast. Don't y'all love him? Like, come on. All right. You know what? Grace. We'll let that go. But the next time, we'll see what happens. All right, real quick, listen up. I was one of them special kids in elementary school. I was severe ADHD, severe OCD, severe IED, severe every single alphabet-like diagnosis that we had. I had every single one of them. I had a learning disability. I had dyslexia. I was in all the stupid kid classes in school. Every single one of them. If they'd have had stupid kid art, I'd have been in stupid kid art probably too. And I had a severe stuttering problem. I couldn't speak a single sentence without slurring words, without ripping words up. People could barely understand anything that I said. So I got up there in front of that class at 10 years old, and I barely stuttered the words out, I want to be a pastor and a train engineer, because driving a train sounds awesome. They don't stop for nobody. And if you get in the way, you just get blown away. It is so, go on YouTube. Like, it's bad, but it's awesome. Remember, smartphones are awesome. And I got done, but that's in the way. There we go. And I got done. I went and sat down, and my teacher came and got me. She pulled me aside, and she said, Aaron, you're going to have to pick something else to be when you want to grow up. Because if you're going to be a pastor, people are going to have to be able to understand what you're saying. See, I've been bullied and abused in school by my classmates because of how different I was than everybody else. And I was emotionally and verbally abused by this teacher that entire school year. She would say stuff like that to me every single day, all the time. I was already hurt and I was already wounded, but I remember, you have to understand this. Most of elementary school, I just don't remember it. It's just not there. And this is one of the only days of 4th grade that I actually remember. I remember running out of the school, across the street to the playground, falling behind the dumpsters and just crying. I had already had wounds from all the stuff that was going on in my life. But man, that was the day. That was the day. That was the day those wounds became scars. That was the day I gave myself over to every addiction that I had just to get through all the pain that I was feeling. That was the day my dream died. That was the first time I ever said the words out loud, I just want to die. Why is it like this, God? I go to a Christian elementary school. These are supposed to be your children. and they hate me, and they make fun of me, and they laugh at me. How can your people do this? And I would go to church and just be angry at him and angry at everybody. A lot of us, when we have pain, we don't know what to do with it, so we hide it. We just hide it, and we hold on to it. But the problem with that is that pain always becomes anger, and that anger always becomes bitterness, and that bitterness turns to hatred. I hated everything and everyone, but the one thing I hated the most was myself. Because if I wasn't so broken, then I wouldn't hurt so bad. In verse 35, it says that Jesus wept. Some of y'all in this room have realized that tonight's not normal, that this is special. And it's not special because I'm here. It's special because you're here. Some of y'all in this room have been fighting to stay alive for years, and you've been clinging to a hope and a prayer, and you're like, when is it going to end? When is it going to end? Does God even see? Does God even see what I deal with? Does God even see what goes on? And I'm here to tell you, every single time you've made yourself throw up, every single time you've looked in the mirror and didn't like what you saw, every single time you've run to your closet and you've hid and you've cried yourself to sleep, every single anxiety attack, every single depressed moment, every single time you've struggled with your sexual gender identity or your sexual identity, every single time this world has hurt you, every single time you've uttered the words, I just want to die, why is it like this? God has seen you, and He wept for you. He wept for you. And you didn't know He was there because you were too hurt to know it or too hurt to feel it. And I was too, because I lived the next 7 years of my life every single day wishing that when I went to bed at night that I would die in my sleep and that life that I was suffering would be over. But God was there through all of it. He saw me, and He wept for me. When Mary got done crying, Jesus was like, take me to Lazarus. Take me to where he is. And they were like, he's been dead for days. And Jesus was like, take me. Do you believe? And so they took him. And they got to the tomb, and it had already been sealed, and Jesus was like, roll the stone away. Open it up. And everybody there was like, Jesus? He's been dead a while. He stank bad. And Jesus was like, I don't care. Roll the stone away. So they did, and everybody backed up real quick because it was super stanky. And Jesus went to the edge of that tomb, and he just said, Lazarus! Lazarus! Oh, you do stank. Lazarus! Get up and come out. And then a person broke into the sunlight, wrapped up like a mummy. It was probably super trippy for everyone there to see it. They're probably like, oh my goodness. And he comes out and they start to unwrap him, and all the people see Lazarus, the man who was dead, yet now he lived.